Today I'm speaking with Anette Eccles, a woman who made a bold and inspiring move, leaving the US behind in search of a new rhythm of life. I was curious what made her choose Crete. Was it the light, energy, or something deeper?
Welcome, Anette.
Thank you.
You once said you were shopping for countries. What was your process like?
So I started when I decided to country shop and find something in Europe. I met with a company in the U.S. that actually does that. They interview you and they ask you all of these questions about what's important. And then they put that into their computer system and they come up with 4 or 5 countries that they think might meet the criteria. Not in any particular order, but just that these are the countries you should probably consider. And then they recommend you go and spend at least 2 weeks there and meet with a relocation specialist and an immigration attorney and find out exactly what it's going to take. So I started that process by going to Dublin, Ireland, which just happened to be, because I run races, there happened to be a race there that I got a bib offered me. And so it just so happened that was the first place that was offered to me, and it was on my list. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go try this out, do this 2-week thing. And I absolutely fell in love with Dublin. It's a gorgeous city. The green is green like you can't believe. If you've never been there, it's just impossible to describe. The people were friendly. The music was great. The food was okay. It wasn't fabulous, but it was good. And I thought, wow, I think I could live here, except the sun doesn't shine very much. And I love the sun. And everyone that I talked to while I was there said, don't think it's going to be sunny all the time, because we'd had a spread of several good days. And they're like, this isn't normal. When I left there, I didn't cross it off my list, but I put it at the bottom of my list because it was that important to me to have sunshine in my life, because I just know I like that. And so then I went to Spain and then on to Portugal, both of which are sunny and beautiful, but there just wasn't enough of the right kind of vibe, the right kind of welcome, the right kind of food, the right kind of just lifestyle that I was looking for.
Something was still missing.
Yes. And so I went home and had decided to give up the search for a little while. And then a man approached me and said he'd heard that I was country shopping. And that's where that expression came from. I said, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. But yes, I am. And he had been working in Europe for about 20 years. He's an American, but all of his territory was European countries. So he said, if there's any country you think you might be interested in, I probably spent some time. And so I asked him where he would go if it was his choice. And he said, well, I'm rather partial to this country because I grew up there, but I would go to Greece. And Greece was on my list. And I said, that's great, but Greece is huge. And most people don't think of Greece as a big country, but when you include all of the islands and everything, like I said to him, where do you start? And he said, oh, you start in Crete.
Oh, so he gave you a right tip.
Yes, he said it's a beautiful country. The people are amazing. The culture is great. The sea is amazing. And I'm like, okay, I'll go try. And came here, and within 24 hours, I knew I was in the right country. So, yes,
you could feel it.
It had everything. I didn't pick Crete. Crete picked me. It just threw its arms open to me and brought me in and embraced me.
I understand. And I also understand that the sun and the natural light was very conscious part of this decision, right?
Yes.
So tell me in which way?
I just know that I've always felt better in the sun than when I've lived in places that were more cloudy. And now that I've been here, I just realize how much happier I am. And my vitamin D level has gone up. I don't have to supplement that at all anymore like I had to in the U.S. No matter where I lived in the U.S., even in the desert where the sun shines every day, because of the toxic environment and the pollutions in the air and stuff, weren't getting enough natural vitamin D from the sun. And here where it's so gorgeous and clear, and you have the sea that keeps it clear, you get enough vitamin D just naturally being outside walking.
And do you test yourself?
Yes, my doctor actually does. My general practitioner doctor here tests every year for it because she says she thinks it's so important. And since she'd never done any testing on me, and I've been here almost a year, she said, I'd like to get your levels. And they were completely normal, and I haven't been taking a supplement on vitamin D since I got here.
While in U.S. you had to,
While in the U.S., I took it all the time for years because it was always too low.
even with supplementation, it was...
Well, with supplementation, I could get it up high enough, but if I ever cut back on that supplementation, it would start dropping. And as a runner, I was outdoors a lot.
Because you're a runner, and you have a very active
lifestyle. I love being in nature. So it wasn't like I was stuck in an office building. I did work in an office, but I was either in the sun before or after work on the weekends. So there's something about the sun and just being able to actually get those natural rays and use those. The other thing that I think is really important that I've noticed is the sun is important in setting our circadian rhythm, and I have had troubles with sleep for decades.
So this is what I wanted to ask you, actually. Does it influence your rhythm?
Yes, yes, and I am a morning person because the sun comes up early, and I don't put my blackout shades up like a lot of people around here do because the Europeans go to bed usually so late. I don't do that. I try to go to bed fairly early and leave the shades open so that as the sun comes up, I wake up and then go out and get sunlight without sunscreen, without shades, with the morning sun for 30 minutes. Even if it's just sitting on my balcony eating breakfast, I'm out there with the sun.
I can completely relate to that.
Yes. It makes a difference. It's what we're supposed to be doing, actually, as human beings.
Yeah, it's very natural for us. It's true. So, have you noticed changes in your own physical and emotional well-being since moving here?
Yes. So I have a physical condition where I genetically cannot break down certain chemicals, and so I had constant inflammation when I was living in the United States. Years I have had chronic inflammation. Even though I eat a completely organic diet, I exercise, I do everything that's right, meditation, all of those things, get plenty of sleep, and I couldn't get rid of that inflammation. And the pain just kept getting higher and higher to where I was on pain medication almost every single day just to get through the day. Here, I rarely ever need it. The inflammation is down. I can tell I'm not puffy and swollen like I used to be. And I think it has a lot to do with several different things that we see here. One is the lifestyle. It's so much slower. And it isn't about consumption. I love the U.S. I will probably always be a citizen of the U.S. But it is really about consumption. It's a society that was built on consumption. And I just love here that people are happy to just eat. That's what I'm learning to do. Sometimes they look at me like I'm crazy because they invite me for coffee, and 30 minutes later I've got to get going because I've got something to do. So I think it's lifestyle. I think it's the sun and the sea, and I think that's a great combination. The sea is so healthy, and having the sun as often as we do for as many days out of the year, we can be in the sea almost every day of the year. Now, there's a couple of months there in April and May where it gets really chilly, but otherwise you can be in there getting all those minerals and soaking all of that up.
I hear you, yes.
And then I think because there's such a lack of pollution from not using chemicals and the sun being able to get right to the plants, we have such amazing food. I have been spoiled, and you, I'm sure, experience this too. You go anywhere now, and you say, well, the food was okay, but it's not Greece.
Yeah.
So
I will have to face that also.
Yes,
in
you
some
will.
time, yeah.
Yes. So I think food, sun, sea, and lifestyle have made me so much healthier and so much happier.
And you wake up with the sun, so you more stick to natural rhythm, right?
Yes. And so we're happier. These people here are happy. Rhythm.
If someone was dealing with chronic pain or stress, like you had it in the past, and was considering a life change like that, what would you say to them?
Do what I did. pack 7 suitcases and leave your life behind. No, that's a little drastic. I know a lot of people don't have that option to do that. Because I work in the industry I do with dealing with the central nervous system, I think that people need help there because our nervous systems are constantly in fight and flight. If you're in your pain, having pain or inflammation all the time. So there needs to be you need to take care of that physical component of it. But beyond that, you really need to look at your lifestyle. And that's like with my clients, we work on the physical, but right from the very beginning, we start looking at what's your lifestyle, like what's the type of food you're eating, how often are you getting sunshine, how often are you getting exercise. Even walking is fabulous exercise.
That's true.
You don't have to be out running marathons like I do. I probably shouldn't. And so I would say getting out and getting that early morning sun, setting your circadian rhythm, getting enough sleep so the body can restore itself.
What's your view on balancing safe sun exposure with all the mainstream warnings about sun damage?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that's why it's important to get morning sun or evening sun, especially in areas where the sun is intense, like here, anything that's around that equator area, especially where the sun is so close and so intense. But I really do think that the sun was made to help us. It's not an enemy. It's using it wisely. So no, you don't want to spend hours and hours laying out on a beach burning your skin. I was at the beach yesterday and some of these people that were laying out, their skin was so red. I was like, oh, you're going to be sick tomorrow. Literally physically sick because that's a burn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yes, I think there's some healthy sunscreens that you can use, but you have to be really careful because most of them have a ton of chemicals that you don't want to be putting on your skin and absorbing into your system. Yes, you may have to spend a little money to get a healthy sunscreen, but it's important to do that.
Yes.
And then to monitor your time and use it wisely. There's a reason why countries have siesta time, nap time in the middle of the day, to get away from that intense heat and that intense sun and relax and just take it easy. And then go back out in the evening and play again, and you still got hours of sunlight. And in the winter, you could probably be out most of the day because the sun is so much less intense.
What have you learned about yourself through living in the sun that maybe you couldn't have learned in the shade?
Oh, that's a good question. One, I learned as a child, I burned a lot because I'm so fair-skinned and blue-eyed and everything, fair-haired, and had no idea about sunscreen or about anything like that. So I know what it's like to have some really severe sunburns. Never want to go through that again. And so at first I started avoiding the sun and just using a tanning bed, but I didn't really feel comfortable with that either. But I also think that what I've learned most about being here is I can feel the difference within myself of my energy level, my smile, my happiness from here and where I was a year ago. And yes, part of that has to do with how much I was working and how exhausted I was and broken down my body was. But being here has started healing all of that. And the difference in how I feel is night and day difference. And what is amazing to me is when I went back to the U.S. in March and everybody that I know looked at me and they're like, wow, you look like you're 10 to 15 years younger. What have you been doing? And I'm like, living in Crete.
1 year in the sun.
1 year in the sun and the lifestyle. But also being back there, I got very sick within a week. So I know the difference between a toxic environment and a healthy environment. And I think I'm going to be here for a very long time because I like this one better. And it's interesting, people here too say that I reversed aging, the aging process, that even that met me when I first moved here now see me, they're like, you look like you're younger. That's because I'm tanned and healthy and not so white and pasty and washed out and exhausted. So yeah, I don't want to ever go back to that. To feeling like that.
That makes sense.
Yes. I'm not sure if I reversed the aging fat. Maybe we found the fountain of youth right out here in front of us, this water, with that sun shining right down on it. It's keeping it warm for us so we can just be out there enjoying both. It was refreshing. It wasn't cold. But then I just stood there in the sun for 10 minutes, and it just felt like somebody was just encasing me in a warm blanket and just giving me a big hug. And I was just like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah, definitely. We are getting here a big hug. It's Crete. Thank you for sharing your path and insights with us. Thank you again for your time and letting us into your journey. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and I hope everybody can get more sun.
Me too. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Anette.
For anyone listening who's been dreaming of a sunnier, slower, more connected way of living, I hope this gives you the courage to explore it. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and as always, soak up the sun.